Hello everyone. So in this episode of Aula Internacional Plus A1.1, uh, as in the last episode we talked about pronombres, and we also talked about the verb ser. Okay, and we have also seen the conjugation of the verb, like soy, tú eres, es, somos, sois, son, etc. And we also learned how to tell your name using that. Okay. There is another way of telling your name in Spanish. And for that, we have a specific verb called as llamar, llamarse. Okay. So, which literally, let me zoom it a bit. Okay. This particular verb, llamarse, it actually means to be called, okay, or to call oneself. Like I say, I call myself XYZ, whatever your name, okay. So as we have seen in our previous session, we have seen that the verbs are conjugated. So llamarse is also the verb. It is a verb that varies itself with respect to pronombre, okay, or whatever the subject is there. So the verb is to be called or to call oneself, to call oneself. So with respect to pronouns, we can say the first with yo is me llamo, yo me llamo. And also we can omit the pronouns. So that is another very significant option with us. But for the time being, I will use the pronouns so that you can understand the respective conjugation. Tú te llamas, me llamo, tú te llamas, ella usted, se llama. Let us maintain some gap so that would be, yeah. Yeah, okay. So that you can easily understand this. Se llama, me llamo, te llamas, se llama. Okay. Let us do one thing. Let's build some sentence with these three, and we'll proceed with other. So I can say I call myself Carlos. So yo me llamo Carlos. Yo me llamo Carlos. Or you can also omit the pronoun and you can simply say me llamo Carlos. Me llamo Carlos. Yo me llamo Carlos. Me llamo Carlos. Similarly, te llamas, te llamas Pedro. Te llamas Pedro. Ella se llama, ella se llama Sofía. Ella te llama Sofía. Me llamo Carlos. Te llamas Pedro. Ella se llama Sofía. Ella se llama Sofía. Okay. Then, more examples you can include. Yeah, the conjugate. Yeah. So, él se llama Daniel. Él se llama Daniel, ella se llama Sofía, te llamas Pedro, me llamo Carlos. Okay. Now, these are three conjugations. Now let us proceed with other ones. So we have nosotros, nosotras, nosotros, nosotras, no, nos llamamos, llamamos, okay? Llamamos, so nos llamamos. So it means we are called, okay? We are called. Nos llamamos, so we are called, okay? The stress will llamamos, so it will lie on this, okay? Nosotros, nosotros, nosotras nos llamamos, okay? So for and in Spanish, we use y, which means and. You will pronounce it like e, like e. Yeah? So if I say, let's say two male persons are there. Nosotros nos llamamos Pedro y let's say Carlos. Nos llamamos Pedro y Carlos. Nos llamamos Pedro y Carlos. We call ourselves Pedro. Pedro is actually Peter, Pedro y Carlos, and Carlos. Nosotros nos llamamos Pedro y Carlos. Nosotros nos llamamos Pedro y Carlos. If there are two females, okay? So I said, so I want to make some changes here. Let me write first, okay? Yeah. María y Martina. Nosotras nos llamamos María y Martina. Nosotras nos llamamos María y Martina. Nosotras nos llamamos María y Martina. Okay? But what? One more. If there is one person and one male and one female, yeah, or a mix of group, so we will simply use nosotros, which means we will use for we for both male and female. Okay? So if in the group there are like males and females, all of them are there. So we will simply say if two persons are there. Oh, okay. Pedro y Carlos. Yeah. Pedro y María. Nosotros nos llamamos Pedro y María. Nosotros nos llamamos Pedro y María. Nosotros nos llamamos Pedro y María. Okay? So two people are there, one male, one female. Similarly, we can go for vosotros. Obviously, so I am writing like this so you can understand. Vosotras, okay? Vosotras, vosotros. Os llamáis ya mais. Os llamáis, os llamáis, os llamáis. So vosotros os llamáis, vosotros os llamáis, vosotras os llamáis, vosotras os llamáis. So, or we can simply let us do, yeah, I'm going to copy them both and we'll do some necessary changes here. Vosotros os llamáis Pedro y Carlos, okay? Pedro y Carlos. Similarly, you can do the same change here. Nosotras se llamáis María y Martina. And if the same rule here also, it follows the same rule. Both male and female, the necessary spelling changes, orthographic changes. Yeah, I'm copying them down because I can't type again and again. Nosotros os llamáis Pedro y María. Nosotros os llamáis Pedro y María. Okay, so these are the examples. Okay? Now, last one is ellos, ellas, and ustedes, ustedes. For all these three, we will use se llaman, se llaman, se llaman. Okay, so ellos se llaman Pedro y Carlos. Ellos se llaman Pedro y Carlos. Ellas se llaman. Let's copy, obviously. Let's copy. Because, yeah, this will need some sort of combination. So, yeah. Maria y Martina. And again, the same rule is also there for if there is like one is Pedro, another one is Maria. Pedro y María. Ellos se llaman Pedro y María. Ellos se llaman María y Martina. Ellas se llaman María y Martina. Ellos se llaman Pedro y Carlos. Is it fine? Okay. Now, what we skipped here is usted and ustedes. Yeah. Now, let us use them. As I told you, both of them are used for formality. Obviously, some sort of formality is involved there. Okay. But how you can go for formality? Yeah. In order to express out being so formal, you will use usted and ustedes. Okay. So if you try to be a little bit polite with someone, okay, instead of saying tú, you will say usted se llaman, usted se llaman, usted se llama, usted se llama Roberto, usted se llama Roberto, and ustedes se llaman Ana y Luis. Ustedes se llaman Ana y Luis. Ustedes se llaman Roberto. Or se llama Roberto, se llaman Ana y Luis. That is also correct. Okay. There is another way when you can use salutations. Okay. So, for example, you want to say that you are Mr. Let us say Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez. Yeah. Okay. Let's choose that name. Now, so Mr. If I want to say that you are Mr. Martinez and she is Mrs. Martinez, for example. Okay. So here we have Señor and Señora. Señora. Señor. Señor. This we use for Mr., Mr., and this one we use for Mrs. Now, whenever you use these these salutations like señor, señora, etc., so instead of using llamarse, you will use ser, ser plus señor, señor, señora. So it is treated like a title. So instead of saying, usted se llama Señor Martinez, instead of saying that, usted se llama Señor Martinez, instead of that, we can simply say, usted es Señor Martinez. And in fact, before that, we put an article, el. Okay, el Señor Martinez. Now, it denotes, it actually denotes a masculine. And similarly, if you are introducing a female person, you will say, ustedes la señora Martinez. I think Martinez will take an accent mark. Martinez. Ustedes el señor Martinez. Ustedes la señora. La señora. La is for feminine. Okay. So he's the actually el and la we will cover in the next episode. They are the articles. Okay. So if you are addressing to a man, you will use el señor, and a female el señora. Usted es el señor Martínez. Usted es la señora Martínez. Okay. El señor, la señora. So we can put these articles here as well. El señor, la señora. Alongside, you can use nombre. Nombre means name. Yep. So usted es el señor Martínez. Usted es la señora Martínez. Usted es la señora Martínez. Yeah. So use ser for the titles. Okay. Yeah. So now let us conclude our session, and the verb which we have learned, that is llamarse. Let us jot it down, all the conjugation, summarize them. It is called as to be called. Now I'm not including pronombre. I'm simply using the conjugation. Me llamo. Te llamas. Se llama. Nos llamamos. Vos llamáis. Os llaman. Me llamo, te llamas, se llama, nos llamamos. Nos llamamos, vos llamáis, os llaman. Okay. What is left? No, se llaman. Sorry. This one is os and this one is se. Yeah, so just correct the typo error. Okay. Me llamo, te llamas, se llama, nos llamamos, os llamáis, se llama. Okay, so the typo error is there, so just please correct it. Okay. Yeah. Here, as I told you in the last episode itself, vos we are not using throughout. Okay. Simply avoiding it, but you know the uses that would be covered in your when we are going to do the listening part. Okay. Now, let us also learn. Now, this is the way you tell your name, but how are you going to ask someone's name? Okay. So in Spanish, we use, see, for question mark in English, we use this. Okay, question mark. Question mark in Spanish. Okay. First, we will see obviously the question mark in Spanish. So yeah, give me a moment. We have to, okay. So like in English, a question mark is obviously the simple question mark we use, yes. But in Spanish, it is a little bit different, okay, compared to English. So in Spanish, we use, whenever we ask a question, like in English, you will say, what is your name? Yes. Or let us more precisely say, how are you called? Yes. Only then we'll be able to use llamarse, how are you called? And you're going to put a question mark here. But in Spanish, we don't put a question mark like this, but rather we use an inverted question mark. Then we type our question and end it again with a question mark. Okay. Now this how in Spanish is called as cómo. Okay. Cómo. So cómo means how. Let me close it like this. Yeah, which means how. Now, if I want to say, how are you called? So for are you called, you will use te llamas, te llamas. Yeah. And simply put this como here. Como te llamas, which means how are you called? Yeah. The meaning is already is already there. Okay. So como te llamas, it means how are you called? Or if you want to be a little bit more polite, use the state form and you can say como se llama. ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo se llama? The reply would be me llamo Carlos or me llamo Martínez. Martínez. Me llamo Carlos, me llamo Martínez. Okay? Okay, me llamo Carlos, me llamo Martínez. Yeah. So these are the two ways of telling your name. It's also given in your textbook, Aula Internacional Plus. So you can go page number 23. And where you're going to find ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo se llama? Me llamo Daniel. Okay. Yeah. There is another way of asking the name. Yes. That one is called as your name. What is your name? Or which is actually in German, in Spanish, it is actually which is your name. So your name is tu nombre. And if you want to go a little bit polite, so you will say su nombre. This one is formal and other one is informal. Now for that we will use cuál. ¿Cuál? 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 ¿Cuál means which? Okay, literal is like which is your name. Okay, so which is your name? I'm writing the literal one. Okay, I mean, like in English it is what is your name, but in Spanish it is which is your name. So go with that. Okay. No need to like judge that it is a wrong English. No, it is not at all wrong. I'm going literal. So that is going to help you out in understanding why we are using cuál and why not something else. Okay. So in Spanish, they actually ask which is your name. Let me copy it. So if it is formal, so cuál, obviously is there, so third person we will use. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? ¿Cuál es tu nombre? ¿Cuál es tu nombre? Okay, so whenever they ask your name like this, ¿cuál es tu nombre? You have the choice. You can tell your name like simply, you can say Martinez. Martinez. And in fact, when they ask like this, ¿cuál es tu nombre? ¿Cuál es tu nombre? Or it could be su nombre. So they actually ask your first name. Yes. So Martinez. Martinez, I think it is the surname. Let us say Pedro. Yeah, Pedro. Pedro Martinez. Okay. So ¿cuál es tu nombre? ¿Cuál es su nombre? It is Pedro. Yeah. You can simply say your name, Pedro. Yeah. But you don't also have your first name. You also have your second name or the surname called as apellido. Apellido. Okay, so apellido, a p i ido, apellido. Okay, so again the stress will be on the third last. Okay, so apellido, this is your surname. So ¿cuál es tu nombre? Will become, if someone wants to know your surname, so it would be ¿cuál es tu or su apellido? ¿Cuál es tu apellido? ¿Cuál es tu apellido? ¿Cuál es su apellido? Let us say Martinez. Martinez. Okay. So ¿cuál es tu apellido? ¿Cuál es tu apellido? It is Martinez. So Pedro Martinez. So ¿cuál es su nombre? Pedro. ¿Cuál es su apellido? Is Martinez. Yeah. Then we have tu nombre, su nombre. Clear? Yeah. So whatever we have learned so far, let us understand everything. So we talked about the verb llamarse. We saw the conjugation of the verb, okay, and different uses. We learned about el señor and la señora title, with which we always use the verb ser and usted and ustedes, whatever you're going to use. Yeah. Then we talked about the question mark in Spanish, which is obviously inverted and it encloses the whole question. The ways of asking someone's name, so you can say ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo se llama? Me llamo, me llamo. Okay. The ways of asking the first and the surname. So ¿Cuál es tu nombre? Or ¿Cuál es tu apellido? That is the surname. Yes, so that's all we learned in this episode. Yes, and yeah, rest we will also continue in the coming sessions. And if you had enjoyed this, please do care to hit the like button. And this is, as I told you, everything is free of cost. So the subscribers are the only fee which is being charged here. Okay, so do care to like, subscribe, and share this absolutely free of cost initiative with your friends who wants to learn Spanish language free of cost. We will see each other in the next episode. Till then, it's time to say an adios.